Happy New Year, team. Starting with this video. For me, this is the key, the first step. This first step will then lead on to curiosity and going to look for things that will help support where you want to be rather than where you are, i.e. in the darkness of your own darkness, your own pain, not seeing any other way out than to try and hurt yourself or take your life. So for me, it's the number one thing. It has to change first, because without it, you cannot and you will not want to or feel that you can expand your mind to think another way. So there's only one way you can change your mind. There's only one way. People can't do it for you. All that stuff you see about you matter when you don't believe you matter. For me, I get it, but at the same time, people don't take that on. They just don't. I've been there, I've done it. For me, it's like people giving you advice when you don't want it. It's like people, telling you how to lose weight when they're not a nutritionist, they're not a PT, but they own the arrogance. They can, change your behaviour. Now, you might say, that's a bit harsh, they're only trying to help. Well, maybe, but in my opinion, people don't help. They like the sound of their own voice, and everyone knows logically what we need to do to lose weight. No one knows, unless you've been through it and survived it, how to prevent suicide or the ideation of it. It's not easy, but it is doable. So for me, the thumbnail hopefully will be a picture of me in hospital. So that's when I was in a induced coma after my attempt. I won't say how I did or what I did, because I don't want to inspire any action, but I will say this: it was pretty final, and it wasn't necessarily something that you'd hear or be familiar with or hearing about. I took the opportunity of my location, put it that way. Anyway, so when I woke up, I remember being very happy. I remember being very joyful, and I couldn't remember what had happened. And then when I found out what had happened, I pretty much went straight back to feeling afraid and just a bit like, oh shit, okay. Now, I'll admit, I was pleased that I'd done something about it, because I'd suffered with that ideation. Part of me had suffered and focused on that for years and years. It's all really I knew. And there's only a few times that I took action on it that actually had serious consequences, and this was the most serious. And actually, I found that I then realised all the damage I'd done to myself. Loss of hearing, like my body was, I was tiny, lost loads of weight, etc., etc. So that put me back, kind of felt like I had to really build myself back. But I had a new enthusiasm for life. And at that time, obviously, I didn't feel down or depressed or suicidal. So I started from a completely different perspective, and I wanted to be there, because what had happened in my coma, I'd been dreaming about a dream life, but I kept putting myself in the coma. I kept hurting myself through drugs and doing stupid shit, and ended up in hospital. It was like, obviously it was a dream, but I was repeating this dream. So when I come out, I was like, I'm not going to do any drugs, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. Now, what happened was, I started doing, I was back on the building site quite quick. I was back in the gym quick, but I noticed that I still had thoughts coming up. Really, not severe thoughts like suicide, but thoughts. I was like, oh, what's this about? And then when I wasn't fixing it, or I don't know, the diet. It was actually diet. It wasn't. I wasn't overeating, but I wanted to get lean, and everything that I was reading at the time said you had to count your calories, you had to do this, you had to do that, and I didn't have that discipline. But I was curious why I didn't have that discipline. I thought there's got to be more to it. So I started working with someone, and that person is still my coach today. And that was 14 years ago. And she's helped me change my life. I wouldn't be doing these videos if it weren't for the stuff that work I've done with her. Now, she didn't change my life, change my own life, but there's a difference between being around people that build you up and being in environments and communities like that versus what maybe you're just used to and you're going to stay where you are, kind of thing. That's an extreme, but I hear what I'm saying. So anyway, the key, I remember that I had to do a lot of work on myself, but mainly the belief that I didn't matter, or that I wanted to end my life, didn't come up for a long time until I started. I was in a relationship. First relationship I've had, obviously, since come out of hospital. It was about 4 years later, and what happened was what I remember happening in all my other relationships. Loads of issues started coming up, loads of insecurities started coming up. And I had been doing work on myself, but it was all still coming up and I didn't understand it. And then when me and my, at the time, girlfriend split, I tried to hurt myself again. And I won't say how I did it, but I didn't do it. I got to the point where it was over a whole day. I was just putting stuff in my body that was going to effectively hurt me or kill me. But it wasn't as simple as taking an overdose, because, I didn't know that certain things work certain ways. So, I basically went through the cycle of trying to hurt myself again. And, I just remember going downstairs. I still lived at home at this point, and then I just went downstairs and started crying to my mum and her friend, saying, "Oh, I don't want to be here, blah blah blah." And what's really interesting is, you might think, "Oh, okay, if I lived with suicide every day," which I don't think I ever have, but there's always been the same triggers for me. And it was always due to relationships or my incapability of making them functional, which is now something I'll talk about at a later date. But this is the key. This was it. And I remember thinking, how can I go from feeling enthusiastic about life to feeling like I don't want to be here anymore, like that? And after tracing it all back, I realised that I had work to do on myself, what I mean to other people, and myself in relationships with other people, and what I put into that, and who I am, and etc. etc. And I'll be honest, I'm still doing that work now, but what I found, and we're 14 years on now, is that each relationship has not happened the same way. It's changed gradually, each one. I've only been in like 3 in the last 14 years, and they've all changed a little bit each time. Now, stuff still comes up for me, but not the same as it did because of all the work I've done, and it's far from perfect. And why is this important? I would not have had the curiosity and the belief if I hadn't have experienced feeling very optimistic, very happy, and wanting to live life, then I would have never have challenged or had doubts when I was trying to hurt myself. Even then, I wouldn't have, I didn't want to put all my family through that. I'd learned, obviously, that I've got a lot of friends and family that care about me, and it wasn't that they never did. It was the fact that I'd never noticed it. I did notice it, and I heard loads of stories about the hospital, and I had loads of people come visit me, blah, blah, blah. So my point is that without the challenge, without challenging the belief that, I'm not like this all the time, if I don't feel like this all the time, then it can't be real. It's not like oxygen. You need oxygen to survive, for your brain to work. And if that's the case, then why, if this was real, if I was actually, wanting to end my life, then how long would this last? It doesn't last forever. It can't. So my thought and my belief is that without changing the optimism, I'm not saying you need to be positive thinking bullshit. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if you think back to the last time you're happy, if you think back to all the times that you have been, enjoying your life, then thinking about the things you want or the things you had then, trying to figure out what it was that was really helping you at that point. That's a good place to start. And also, I think in CBT they challenge your thoughts and your your beliefs, and where they're negative, they're called NATs, negative automatic thoughts. I think they challenge them. They said, what's this about? What was it called? And looking at it like that is very helpful. Now, I will admit I was lucky to be here and have that experience, because I was living my best life in the coma. So I woke up thinking that was real, and I was so enthusiastic about life. Only when I was reminded and told what actually happened, which I didn't actually get told. It was weird. My friend asked me a question, and when I answered the question, I knew what had happened. It was really, it was quite profound actually. But I just remember in the second it just all came straight back to me. As soon as that happened, my mental state, my emotional state, everything changed. Everything went straight back to how it was before, or maybe the last time I can remember. And that was the key. That was the key. I was like, oh shit, okay. So I can change my state. I can change my emotional state. So there's nothing wrong with me. All I need to do is try and figure out what it is that is bringing all this stuff up. And I'll tell you now, it's took a lot of work, but if I'd never thought I would get to the point I am now. And I know my videos are not great. I know my editing's not great. I'll work on that. But I never believed it would change or I would change. So for it to be where it is now, that is monumental. And if anyone out there is even slightly similar to me and what you've heard me say, then let's do it. Seriously. That's the first step anyway. The first step is having the awareness that actually this isn't all the time. There was a time when I was feeling okay, when I was in a better state mentally, emotionally. What's going on? The ideation and thinking you don't want to be here, unfortunately, is a very bad symptom, but it's not the issue. It's a symptom. The issue is something a bit deeper. I'm sorry if that scares you. For me, that's the truth. I hope that helped. Comment below, send me any questions or comment any questions, and if you like and subscribe to the channel, might encourage me to do more, because it's not a great topic, but I'm curious about how I can make it easier to listen to and less of a what's the word, I can't remember the word, but something that people don't like hearing, basically, or talking about. Safe.